This Memorial Day is not the same. It's different. Definitely different. And it's probably different for a lot of you for different reasons. Was this Memorial Day different to you? Wherever you are in your journey, welcome to Personally Driven. I am Jackie of JackieWashington.com. And remember, Jackie spelled Jacqui. I am a certified life coach, a personal development consultant. I help women to stop people pleasing, start creating a fulfilling life on their own terms, and pursue meaningful goals. So yeah, for me, this Memorial Day was not the same, and it was different. Now, some of you, I'm sure, it was not the same because of the pandemic in 2020. And yes, it is 2021. Excuse me. Yes, it is 2021. But a lot of people in the world, and especially the U.S., is still in, I don't know what you really call it. I'm not going to say a lockdown because a lot of states have opened up like restaurants and parks and local events and things like that. But there are some places in some states that you still have to wear a mask. You may still need to get your temperature taken. And maybe in some places only so many people in a room at a time. But what makes this Memorial Day not the same and different from me is because my father passed away this year. My father passed away March 8th. And this Memorial Day, my family and I went to the cemetery to visit my father. Well, however you see it as. And so that was the first time that we went to, let me see, how can I say this? It's the second time. Of course, the first time because that's where he was buried, but this was the first time that we went after his funeral services. So that's what made this Memorial Day different. I'm prior military, and so was my father. My father retired Command Sergeant Major. And the cause of his death was service related. So this Memorial Day was definitely different. It wasn't quite the same. Yeah. So I just had time to think about that and process it and thought about, I don't know about you all, but this is my first time experiencing a loss of a parent. And so life is different for me. The way I see things is differently now. The way I feel about things and think about things and people is different now. I'm still hopeful. And one thing that I can definitely say is that I am so proud of myself because of the way that I handled everything. Well, as a people pleaser, as we are, we always handle stuff, right? So we're kind of used to that. But this was different for me. I'm on a different journey. And that is exactly why I do what I do as a life coach and personal development consultant. Because the old me would have definitely handled this differently. I would have done what people pleasers typically do, which is do everything that everybody else wants you to do, or please everybody else and make everybody else happy and suppress your own happiness. And so I had to, of course, my mom and dad had been married for 56 years. So my parents, my dad was 80, my mom's in her late 70s. And so I don't know if you all know, but man, when it comes to not necessarily of the planning of the funeral, but more so like after the fact, meaning like life insurance, or if your parent was a retiree and had a pension, or survivor benefits and Social Security. Man, I tell you, I learned a lot. And luckily, I consider myself very tech savvy. But it just made me think like, man, most people, most seniors, they don't know anything about technology in that way. It didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? And it just made me sit down, and when I was doing all of the handling everything, because of course my mom, being so devastated over the loss of her husband, the love of her life, my father, she really could not really do anything because she just didn't have the wherewithal to even function, right? But she is doing well. She's getting through it. You know how if you don't know, the grieving process, we all go through it differently, and but it is a process. And some days we laugh thinking about my dad, and some days I'm sure we've cried. Everyone in the family. But man, getting back to handling business, it's just, hey, most of my listeners are, I would consider middle age or older, maybe a few younger people listening. But man, if you have senior parents, and even if you don't, even for yourself, it just made me look at things like trying to make it easier for your family member when it comes to preparing for your services, if you plan on having services, and things like that. Just having your things in order to make it easier. And thankfully, my dad was very organized, and I guess that's the military in him. Luckily, he was very organized, and he knew he was getting more sick. And so he put a lot of things in place, and he wanted to make sure my mom was taken care of. So that's a great thing. But it's just, gee, guys, a lot of things, first off, okay, not even to add the pandemic, but but just the process of it all. Like I told you, all those things that you have to handle outside of services, but just all the other things. A lot of things are done online, and like I said, most seniors, and I'm talking about in their 70s, maybe even some in their 60s. But shoot, I know some people around my age that are not very tech savvy or don't feel comfortable online. And so I was just I guess I just didn't realize how much stuff has gone to technology. So, it just made me sit back and think, man, if someone, a husband and wife, are both in their 70s, 60s, 70s, or 80s, and they're not familiar with doing things online, how will they be able to handle things? And it's even more of a aggravation because of the pandemic. So some agencies and businesses are still, some people are still working from home, which means hold time. Guys, like, look, when we were calling some of the places to make sure the paperwork was filled out right and whether we can scan it and fax it, because some places you can and some you can't. Some have to be mailed, all that good stuff, right? And so a lot of sites you had to go to download the forms that you need. But just calling, I would say the shortest time that I was on the phone was about 45 minutes. Every single call was over 45 minutes. I'm talking about, I've been on hold an hour, hour and a half, almost up to 2 hours. Also appointments, because of the pandemic, some facilities you couldn't go in person. Some you had to make an appointment first, then you could go in person. And that was just to turn in your paperwork or whatever, right? And so some of those things were a month out, 2 months out. Man, I tell you, so I've learned a lot. I learned a lot and grown a lot, and it's quite interesting. But I just wanted to share that with you all. I guess I would say the tip that I would say is that you can get through it. You will get through it. And I'm gonna tell you what gets me really through it is I know that I'm doing all of this in honor of my Father. So everything I do is in honor of my Father. And it just makes me look at things totally different. And I know, as most people pleasers don't put themselves first, they tend to put other people first. But I tell you, this experience, I've already was going through the process of putting myself first and all that great stuff. But I tell you, boy, oh boy, when it comes to planning this, if you have siblings, it could be challenging. If you have other family members, like your parents' sisters or brothers, it can be challenging because they want you to do it this way, or they want you to handle it this way, or they want input on this. And I tell you, let's see, I just did a recording about respect. I tell you, you have to put your foot down. And I'm also going to let you know, people are going to be mad at you. People might consider you mean. People might say you're mean. People are going to talk behind your back. But guess what? You have no control over them, and that's not what's important. What I would say to you is, think about, what are you doing to honor your loved one? Keep that in mind. And if it was a parent, think about the living parent. Be there for them. You know what I'm saying? So remember to put yourself first. Do the things that your living parent would want you to do, and also do the things that your deceased parent would want you to do. Honor them. And only do the things that you would want to do in honor of your parent, and also, like I said, your living parent.